Welcome to the Blueprint Solutions Basic Training session. This is the first screen that you will see when you log into Blueprint. All users will have their own username and password. Let's take a look at the patient browser. The Location tab allows you to click on specific location or all locations to view patients. The Advanced Search option allows you to search by specifics. For example, if you find a hearing aid, you can search by the serial number to see who it belongs to. Or if a patient left a callback number but forgot to leave their name, you can look up by the phone number. In the Quick Find option here, you can start typing in the first letters of a last name. On the right-hand side of the screen, you will see a snapshot of this patient's file. This includes their date of birth, age, preferred phone number, provider, address, and the balance of the patient's account. If the balance is green, that means they have a $0 balance or a credit on their account. If the balance is red, that means the patient has an outstanding balance. Another great feature is the sticky note. If you go to the patient drop-down menu and click Edit Note, anything you type in here will appear on this summary screen. Click Save. This will appear in the patient browser whenever the selected patient is highlighted. You can even put vacation addresses in here. If there is a calendar icon next to any of your patients, that means they have an upcoming appointment. You can highlight their name, go to the patient drop-down menu, and click Find Appointments. This will bring any upcoming appointments that this patient may have. You can then double-click on any of the appointments and it will bring you to the schedule. You also have the ability to flag patients and they will appear in red. If you highlight the patient name, open their file, click on the Marketing tab at the top of the screen, you can then check the box that says Cash Sales Only. This will turn the patient red in the patient browser. Some clinics use this feature for other uses as well. To return them to their original color, you can just uncheck the box and click Yes. There are patient-specific tabs that will only be highlighted when a patient is highlighted in the patient browser. But there are more general tabs that are always available. You also have the ability to log off from this left-hand toolbar. Let's take a look at our schedule. In the top right-hand corner, you have a drop-down box for the location. You can select one or all locations. When you select a location, you can see the providers on the left-hand side. You have the option to view all provider schedules or to view them separately. To view them separately, uncheck the box, and that will leave the provider that is checked. You can also view the calendar in many different ways. We have a 1-day view, 5-day view, 7-day view, or a month view. The green arrows allow you to go ahead or back depending on the view that you have selected. The blue refresh button will give you the most up-to-date information. You shouldn't need to use this too often. Everything in Blueprint is done in real time. So if you schedule an appointment for the provider, they'll be able to see that appointment on their computer right away. The home icon will bring you back to today's date, and the calendar icon will allow you to create an appointment. The magnifying icon allows you to search for an appointment. If you type in general information like a last name and the date range that you are searching, it will find that patient. The printer icon allows you to print a hard copy of your schedule depending on the view that you have selected. You can also set up your calendar on your phone or tablet. This will be in read-only mode, and it allows you to see your schedule at all times. You can also adjust the walls around your schedule. The easiest way to schedule an appointment is to right-click on the calendar and choose a start time. This would be 9 o'clock. This will bring you to the list of existing patients in your system. Select the patient you would like to make the appointment for. You can also start typing the first few letters of the last name on your keyboard, and that will bring you to where the information is. Click Next. Now we will fill out the appointment information, the location, the provider for who this appointment is for. As you will see, the patient's name will automatically show up in the description field. Now you can select the type of the appointment this patient is coming in for. If you need to add additional types of appointments, you can do that under the Setup tab on the left-hand side of the screen. Depending on the type of appointment you choose, these 4 boxes come into play. If you check the first box, this means the appointment will show up in a solid color. This will let us know that we should not double book during this type of appointment. If the box is not checked, it will show up white with a color outline. If the client says they will be bringing someone with them to the appointment, you can check the 3P present for third party present. That information will be calculated into a report. The sales opportunity will be calculated to see a sale closing rate and calculate if this type of appointment results in sales. Unaidable can be included as a checkbox option for AHA members. This data can be transferred to the AHA wake-up call. Please contact Blueprint Solutions to enable this feature. The notes section will populate with the patient's phone number, but you can add any additional notes you would like. You can adjust the date of the appointment using the arrows or the calendar icon. You can also extend the duration of the appointment by using the scroll bar. To adjust the start time of the appointment, you can use the arrows, or you can drag and drop the appointment on the right-hand margin. You can make all-day events, such as continuing education seminars, holidays, or PTO. You can create repeating events, such as lunch or staff meetings. And you can check out resources to make sure they are available at the time of the appointment. Most of the clinics leave the appointment in tentative status to use the calendar as an appointment reminder call list. Once done, you can click Create Event. If you hover over an appointment, you can view the name, number, and notes in the lower left-hand corner. You can also view the physician and resources that are checked out on the lower right-hand corner. Additionally, there is a year-to-date calendar on the left-hand side. This will allow you to make appointments weeks, months, or days in advance. There's also a patient's in-clinic monitor that allows you to see who is in your clinic. When the patient arrives, you can check them in by right-clicking and marking them as arrived. This will put the patient's name and start a timer for the patient's in-clinic monitor. Once you mark the patient as arrived, this will send a message to the provider letting them know their patient is here. They also have the option to let you know if they're on their way, need 5 minutes, running behind, or they can type back their own custom response. The response will come back to the front office. The next step is to mark when the appointment has started. You can right-click on the appointment and mark in progress. This will turn the patient name blue in the patient's in-clinic monitor and restart the timer. When the appointment is over, you can right-click and mark completed. This will allow you to run an appointment analysis report to see how long these types of appointments actually last. This will also track how early or how late this patient is for their appointment. Under the Summary tab, it will show you the statistic. Here is their punctuality and their no-show rate. Above the patient's in-clinic monitor, you can choose the color by appointment type. This will color code the appointments, and you can choose the colors in the setup menu on the left-hand side. We also have the status filter. The status filter allows you to view different appointment types. If we change this to tentative, we can use this for appointment reminder calls. Once you call the patient and confirm the appointment, you can change the status by right-clicking, Change Status, Confirmed. This will remove the appointment from the tentative status area. If you delete an appointment, don't worry, it won't be gone forever. You can just change the status to inactive, and your appointment will appear. If the patient called to cancel or you have a no-show, you can simply right-click on the appointment and change the status to canceled or no-show. This will prompt you if rescheduling is required. If you click yes that rescheduling is required, the patient will be added to the rescheduling area. When you click on the red bubble, you will see a list of patients that still need to be rescheduled. You can right-click on their name, Rescheduling, Reschedule, and set a new appointment. If rescheduling is not required, you can just choose Not Required and it will remove them from this list. Let's take a look at what we do for a new patient. When a new patient calls in and is not in Blueprint, you can right-click on the schedule, choose a start time, and select the None option. You can also choose this None option for meetings or block scheduling. You can fill out all of the information over the phone. Once you get all of the new patient paperwork, if you have any for your clinic, you can then create them in Blueprint. To create a new patient, we can go to the patient browser and click Create Patient at the bottom of the screen. We will start with the title, which will then fill in the gender automatically. You can type in the first and last name. Any field with an asterisk next to it is a required field. This blue background will disappear when all required fields are filled in. The Social Security number, family physician, and providers are not required fields, but if you have that information, you should fill it in. It's really useful for marketing purposes. The family physician would be the person who referred them. If you don't see their name in this drop-down menu, you can add them to the list by clicking Add, filling out this information, and clicking Create. Next, for the provider, you want to choose who they're going to see in your office. Once that is done, we can fill out their address. Choose the location that this patient will be seen at. There is also an email option that is not required. If you fill this out, this will allow you to send emails, invoices, and receipts to the patient. This will essentially allow you to go paperless. The telephone number is used for the main contact number and does not have to be their actual house phone. Now that all my information is filled out, I can click Create Patient. At this point, it will prompt you for a referral type and source. The referral type and source is set up by your office in the Setup menu on the left toolbar. This will be useful data and will allow you to run a referral source report, which will show you how much revenue you're generating from each referral source. It will now ask you if you want to export the patient to NOAA. If you decide to integrate your Blueprint and NOAA, click Yes. If you aren't integrated with NOAA and want to, our technicians can do this for you. It's an additional charge of $25 a month. This is an optional service. My patient's file is now created. I now want to link my new patient to his appointment that he created a few days ago. You can do so by right-clicking on the appointment and clicking Link to Patient. Type in the patient's last name and click Next. When I click Update Event, my appointment is now linked to my newly created patient. Let's take a look at what happened when I exported my patient to NOAA. When the Blueprint technicians perform the NOAA and Blueprint integration, they will install a BP link which will run on your NOAA server computer. You can verify the transfer between the two systems by viewing this link. You can now locate this patient in NOAA and perform your tests. You will see that the patient's name, date of birth, gender, and address has transferred over. You can now perform your audiogram. My impedance information will only transfer if I'm using a NOAA-compatible tympanometer. Now that my information is filled out, I will click Save. When you've saved your results, it can take about 15 seconds for the information to transfer into Blueprint. You can also manually send old audiograms from NOAA by right-clicking and choosing Web Export, or by clicking on the blue arrow next to the audiogram. By viewing the BP link, I can see the transfer of information. Now that I see my audiogram is here, when I go back into Blueprint, go to the Patient's Audiology tab and click Refresh, my audiogram has now appeared. The date of the assessment will appear under the History tab, and the triangle indicates an incomplete data set. To complete the set, highlight the date and click Edit at the bottom of the screen. I can now select my provider, my test method, and add any ICD codes. Choose any codes you would like to populate on the HCFA 1500 form. The severity is based on an average of 500, 1000, and 2000 Hertz, similar to how it's done in NOAA. You can make changes to this if needed. If the information is the same for the right and the left side, you can use this Copy Right to Left button in the middle. As you can see, my air conduction information has transferred from NOAA. If you entered any bone conduction, most comfortable level, uncomfortable level, sound field, and sound field aided, that information will transfer from NOAA as well. If you need to make changes to these numbers, you will need to make the changes in NOAA and then transfer the information over. Click Save. The history will be updated, and a blue check mark will appear next to the date. At the bottom of this screen, you can specify what the patient is being seen for by using this patient type. This list is customizable. Hold Control on your keyboard to select multiple patient types and click OK. You will now see them under patient types. This is important even if you are not integrated. For example, if a manufacturer comes up with something new for patients with tinnitus, having this on file, you can then go into the Marketing tab and contact all the patients who have tinnitus. Filling this entire module out is very important because you can run a marketing campaign to target patients based on their hearing loss severity, type, and shape, or what ICD codes you used. Now that my dataset is complete, I can generate a number of different reports. Let's take a look at the physician's hearing assessment. I can right-click on this date to choose my report, or I can click on the Reports button at the bottom of the screen. The audiogram and speech information transfers to this report along with the TIMP graph, if any is generated with a NOAA-compatible tympanometer. This document is editable, so you can make changes as needed. We also have this awesome feature called text snippets. With text snippets, you can create a personalized text library of text segments and sentences. These text snippets can be used for fast completion of journal entries and medical reports. Users can simply open a text snippet, and you will see all of the preset text snippets that I've created in my system. Now I can simply drag and drop the paragraph I want to use, double click, or I can type in the auto text word in the black box. When I press enter, that will replace my text with the full text snippet. Your text snippets can be organized in categories. To create a category, click on the Setup menu and open the magnifying glass to view your text snippets. To add a category, you right-click on the text snippet and choose Add Text Snippet Category. I'll give my category a new name. And click Create. Now that I have a new category, I can create a new text snippet to go under. I'll click Create New, and this is where I can type my text snippet string. In the Create Text Snippet dialog box, type in the text string and add the auto text that will be used to pull up the text string. Optionally, you can click the lock icon to make the text snippet private. A private text snippet can only be viewed and used by the user that created it. Click Create. I now have a new text snippet string. If I go back to my assessment, I can finish filling this out. Here's what page 2 looks like. Again, this whole form is editable. I can now add my final comments. You have the option for your signature to automatically populate at the bottom of this form. You can do this by signing a blank piece of paper with a dark pen, scan it, and send it to us in a support ticket with your signature attached. The technicians will then upload this to your system. Now that my report is ready, I can email or fax this to the family physician, insurer, or patient. Simply click on the Email Fax button at the bottom of the screen. Choose if you're going to email or fax this document. You also have the ability to manually type in a new fax or email. I'm going to fax this to the physician. This will automatically archive this document to the Patient's Document tab. You can either allow for future editing of this document, or you can lock the form. Now I can fax my document. It will automatically pull in your physician's name and fax number. Click Next. I'm going to choose our generic fax cover page. You have the ability to create your own fax cover page. Here's an example of our generic fax cover page. This will have your clinic logo and your clinic address at the top. It includes the 3 pages of the report that we filled out earlier. I can now click Send Fax. This pop-up will remind you that there is a per-page charge that may apply for successful transmissions. Click OK. Now that I have faxed this document, I want to check the transmission to see if it went through. To do so, I'm going to click on the Communications drop-down menu and choose Fax Outbox. This will show any faxes that I sent. If there is a yellow triangle next to the file, that means that there was an error when sending this fax. The fax icon means that it's in transmission. And if nothing is there, that means it was successful. If you highlight and right-click, you have a number of options. You can view it again, print this document, archive it, download a copy to the local computer, delete it. Here are all of my archived faxes. From the Communications drop-down menu, you also have a Scan Fax option. This will allow you to scan and fax without first saving it to a patient's document tab. Let's take a look at my patient's journal. The journal can be used as the patient's medical record, chart notes, or any patient-specific notes. Their journal notes will automatically update when there is activity on the file. To create a new journal entry, click New Entry at the bottom of the screen. Add any note by typing or using the text snippets. You can also adjust the font, color of the text, and the date of the entry. When done, click Save, and your note will appear in the journal entry. You can also print out journal entries by highlighting the entry and clicking Print Entry. To print multiple entries, hold Control on your keyboard and select Multiple Entries. Let's enter this patient's insurance information. On the patient's file, click on the Insurers tab at the top of the screen. You can optionally fill in the marital status and employment status. At this point, you can choose the relationship for the primary insurer. If you choose Self, the patient's demographic information will automatically populate. Then choose an insurer from the drop-down menu. To add a new insurer to this drop-down menu, go to the Setup menu, click on Insurers, and Create New. Fill in the insurance information and click Create. That insurer will now be available in this drop-down menu. You will also need to include that patient's insurance ID number. Optionally enter the policy number, employer school name, and insurance plan program name information. These fields are not required within Blueprint OMS, but if entered, it will populate on Box 11, Box 11B, and Box 11C, respectively on the HCFA 1500 form. Click Update to save these changes. You also have the ability to add a secondary insurance by clicking on Other Insurance. To sell or add a hearing aid for a patient, we will click on the Patient's Hearing Aid tab. Each patient gets their own hearing aid tab where their information is stored. There's two options. You can add aid or order a new aid. The difference between these two is the add aid option is utilized when a patient comes to your clinic and already has active aids, and we just want to put them on file. The order new aid option is what you will use with Blueprint moving forward to sell a hearing aid to a patient. Under Add Aid, you would select the patient existing aid. This will bring up the catalog for you. Our team maintains this catalog, so whenever a new line of hearing aids comes out, we will add them for you. If you ever don't see what you need, you can send us a request to support@blueprintsolutions.us. Also, any other requests you have, you can click on the Help drop-down menu and click Submit Support Ticket. Let's order hearing aids for this patient. Anytime you sell a hearing aid in Blueprint, you will follow a 3-step process. This is a process you already use at your clinic. You're just using it to track it in Blueprint. First, you need to order the hearing aid from the manufacturer. Then you need to receive it into the office from the manufacturer and deliver it to the patient. To order a new hearing aid, you can click on Order New Aid at the bottom of the screen or on the shopping cart on the left-hand side. They serve the same function. Here you're going to see patient pricing for the hearing aids. Your clinic has full control over setting the patient prices and the manufacturer prices in this setup menu. We can quickly find the model name or narrow it down by manufacturer or both. I'm going to choose Phonak as the manufacturer. In the quick find, I'm going to type the name of the model that I'm looking for. I want to sell this hearing aid to the patient, so I'm going to click on it. On the right-hand side, you can add any aid options with this hearing aid. Some clinics track these options and some don't. Now choose your prescriber, fitter, and side. It will ask for color and notes. If you don't have any information, you can leave it blank and click OK. If you're selling 2 hearing aids, you would now click the other side. At this point, we can add any orderable items by clicking Next, such as ear molds that we want for this order. Click Next. You can now choose from the Services, Batteries, and Accessories tabs. Your clinic has full control over these 3 tabs, and these items can be created in the Setup menu as well. You can see the 2 hearing aids we are ordering with their ear molds. If you see anything on here that you want to add, just double click on it. Let's say my patient came in for his comprehensive exam today. Once done, click Next. At the top, you will see the order date, location, and provider. If you want to increase the price of any of your items, you can click in the price field and override the price. Click Enter on your keyboard to save that change. If you want to lower the price, you need to double-click in the discount area. Choose your discount reason and your discount amount. You can also increase the quantity on batteries and accessories. When you set up the items in the Setup menu, you can denote whether or not they have tax. The tax is automatically calculated for you. We can then create the quote if the patient wants to see an estimate. And this is what it will look like. It will have your clinic logo and address. If you took a deposit or are going to take a deposit on the order, there is a deposit paid field. If you double-click in the covered amount, it will pull up any previous deposits that were made or allow you to take a new deposit. click Save. From this screen, you can allocate some of this to the third party. Your insurer will show here, and you can allocate some of this amount by clicking in the Covered Amount field. Some clinics like to allocate the entire amount to the insurance company and then see what they come back with. Otherwise, if you know exactly what this insurer is going to pay, you can put that amount in here as well. The remainder of this order will be allocated to the patient. Once done, make sure you click Save Order. Blueprint will prompt you to create an order form to send to the manufacturer. If it's a custom order, you can generate the order form right out of Blueprint. Optionally, you can enter a rush date, venting instructions, canal length, and other instructions. Click OK. You can have your clinic's bill to and ship to information adjusted by us. If you want your manufacturer's account numbers to generate automatically, you can send those to our support team and they will customize this for you. All you have to do is print this and send it to the manufacturer. You can also archive this document to the Patient's Document tab, save it on your computer, or print a copy. I'm going to archive this to my Patient's Documents tab. The aid is now out on order. Let's take a look at this client's Documents tab. Here are all of the documents we archived today for this patient. If you highlight a document and right-click, we have a number of options. We can view the document, print it, change the document category. We can email this to the patient or the physician. We can fax this to the physician. We can change the status of this document. We can download a copy to our local computer, or we can delete this from the Patient's Documents tab. In this section of Blueprint, you can upload patient documents from your computer or scan paper copies of patient information. Some clinics scan in EOBs, insurance cards, driver's license, or old paper copies of audiograms. If I haven't had time to physically fax or email documents, you can mark them as to be faxed or to be emailed. To search for documents by their status, click on the Tools drop-down menu and click Search Documents. I can now choose a status from the Status drop-down menu and click Search. This will bring up a list of documents. I can now highlight my document, right-click, and fax. Once done, I can change the status of this document. It will now disappear from this list. All document categories and statuses can be created in the Setup menu under Documents. Here are my categories, and here are my statuses. Now let's say my hearing aid for this patient came back from the manufacturer. I can go to the Patient's Hearing Aid tab. I can highlight my hearing aid, right-click, and I have two options. I can receive aid or receive aid with bill. The receive aid with bill will allow you to adjust the manufacturer cost. Receiving the aid will default to the manufacturer cost to whatever has been previously set up in the system. If you only receive the item but need to go back to adjust the manufacturer's price, you can do so by clicking on Accounting, Enter Bill. Let's receive the hearing aid with bill. I'm going to enter the invoice number. And now I can input the serial numbers. I can choose the battery size and the manufacturer's cost. You can also scan the serial numbers in if you have a barcode reader. Your warranty and loss and damage warranty dates will automatically pull in for you. You have the ability to change these dates by clicking in the field and choosing the date you wish. You can also add in the colors and any additional notes. Let's say my manufacturer charged me for shipping and handling. I can record that down here by choosing Expense Accounts Miscellaneous. My description is shipping and handling, and I put in the charge. You want to make sure that your bill total matches your invoice from your manufacturer. Click Save. Now the hearing aid is received into the clinic. The next step would be to receive the ear molds. The next step is the patient coming in for a fitting. When the patient arrives, you can highlight the hearing aid, right-click, and choose Deliver All Items. There's an optional check status. Some clinics like to do a physical check of the hearing aid and record that step. Once you deliver all of the items, it will create the invoice. Make any final changes you want. As you can see, it pulled in my discount from earlier. It's still allocated to insurance, and it shows that patient deposit. On the invoice, it will have your clinic logo and clinic information. You can choose to take a payment right now or at a later time. There are two ways to take a payment. You can click Receive and Apply Payment directly on the invoice, type in the amount received and the payment method, and that will adjust the invoice for the patient. Make sure to archive this invoice for your records. If I go to the patient's sales history, I will see all sales and payments here. I can also take a payment by highlighting my sale, right-clicking, and choosing Receive Apply Payment. This section is where any sales, payments, and returns get tracked. The Triangle Alert System lets us know that money is still owed by the patient and by the third party. If I hover over the triangle, it will show me how much is left of this balance. To see all hearing aids that are out on order, waiting in receive status, or out for repair, I can click on the Orders tab on the left toolbar. You can filter this list by order type, status, and location. I can then call all of these patients to come in for a fitting. If a patient needs to make a return, you can go to their sales history, highlight the sale, and click Return Items. This will pull up the entire sale. If you're not returning certain items, highlight them and click Delete on your keyboard. The Return Charge Digital will automatically generate, but you can change this by double-clicking into the price field and zeroing it out. Choose a return reason and check the amount crediting the patient before you return the items. If you have allocated any of this to an insurer, you will get this pop-up. By clicking Yes, it will leave the return credit unapplied from the original sale. If you click No, the return credit will cancel out the original sale. You'll be prompted to issue a refund, or click No and it will remain as a credit on the patient's account. If you choose to issue a refund, check the date, the amount the refund is for, choose your refund method, and your location. Click Save. The credit reports will form. The first one is for the vendor and what you will be returning to the manufacturer. And the second one is for the client and what will be refunded to them. If I go back to my patient's file, I will see my return and the refund made to the patient. Next, we will look at how to send a hearing aid for repair. Open your patient's file and click on their hearing aid tab. You can highlight, right-click, and send the aid for repair. Fill in the rest of the repair details. Keep in mind that under the reason for repair, there is a replacement for lost aid. This is used for your loss and damage claims. Some clinics prefer to type in the account numbers here or any additional information. Once done, click Next. You have the option to add a repair service fee, shipping fee, or any other fee your clinic uses. Click Next again. Look over the repair order and make any adjustments. Once you click Save Order, it will generate the repair order form. You can now email, fax, archive this document, print it out, or save it on your computer. The hearing aid tab will now show that this hearing aid is sent for repair. Once the hearing aid comes back from the manufacturer, you can highlight, right-click, and receive the item back into your clinic, with or without the manufacturer bill. I will put in my invoice number, and now I can change the serial number to the new serial number. Now this hearing aid is showing as received. I can now highlight, right-click, and deliver this item. Make any adjustments that you need and create the invoice. Let's take a look at how to loan a hearing aid to a patient. I'm going to go to my patient browser and type in the first few letters of a patient's last name. Open the patient's file, go to their hearing aid tab. At the bottom of the screen, click Add Aid Loan from Stock. You will be brought to a list of stock hearing aids based on location. You can now select the hearing aid, drag and drop it to the left and the right. Once done, click Add. The recall date will auto-populate, or you can manually input a date. This will be the date you want to call the patient back to return the loaner aid or to complete the sale. Click OK. In the patient's hearing aid tab, it will now appear with the on loan status. With an aid on loan, you have a couple of options. You can click on the hearing aid, right-click, and populate a loaner agreement. You can complete the sale, or you can return this hearing aid back to stock. If you choose the loaner agreement, it will populate the Blueprint loaner agreement. It will have your clinic logo, clinic address, and it will fill in the patient information. You can print this off and have the patient sign it and scan it into the Documents tab. If you want to be able to do an electronic signature, you can do this by buying a signature pad on our website. If you right-click and complete the sale, it will take you through the normal invoicing process for the hearing aid and remove it from stock. If the patient then does not want to keep the hearing aid, you can highlight, right-click, and return to stock. If you do this, it will move off of the patient's file and return it back into inventory. Another option you have is to sell an item from stock. You can either click on the Quick Sale button or the Order button on the left-hand side. At the bottom of this screen, you will want to select stock items. Highlight the hearing aid and drag and drop it to the right and the left side. Click Save. Now you can choose the warranty expiration and loss and damage warranty dates. At this point, if you want to add any services, batteries, and accessories, you can do so. From here, you can adjust your pricing, quantity, and add any discounts. You can now highlight, right-click, and deliver the items. This will create an invoice with all of the items being purchased, discounts and pricing included. We can either take a payment from here, as I mentioned before, or you can do that in the patient sales history. If you go to the patient's hearing aid tab, you will see that these hearing aids are now active. The Sales History tab lists all of the dollar transactions for the patient. Transactions with open balances have an exclamation mark listed next to the total amount. The debit column represents any amounts the patient owes, and the third-party column represents any amounts that have been allocated to a third party, such as an insurance company. A number of options are available if you right-click on a transaction. You can receive and apply a payment, apply a credit that's on the account. The Void Invoice option is for non-hearing aid sales. All hearing aid sales will have to be processed as a return. You can perform a patient write-off. View the transaction history will show any patients and write-offs that are applied to this sale. If you click Print, it will generate the invoice again. You can generate a HCFA 1500 form. You can generate an audiology superbill. And you can generate a purchase agreement or any other order-related document you have uploaded into your system. You can also highlight a sale and click Edit Invoice at the bottom of the screen. This will allow you to change the amount allocated to the patient or the insurer. If we click on the Marketing tab at the top of the patient's file, it contains 3 elements. The top left is the referral source that you chose when you created this patient. This can be updated at any time. Below is the grouping module. You can create groups and assign the patients to one or multiple groups. This is a very effective way of categorizing your patient's database and a way for you to target specific groups of patients with the mailing. To add a patient to a group, click Add. You can then click on any of the groups or hold Control on your keyboard to select multiple. Then click OK. New groups can be added to the marketing section on the left toolbar. Go to Patient Groups and click Create New. All of these patient groups are in that Marketing tab. On the right side of the Patient's Marketing tab, you will see a list of mailings that the patient has received. At the very bottom of the screen, you will see 2 checkboxes: Do Not Mail and Cash Sales Only. Marking as Do Not Mail will exclude the patient from any mailing sent out. Note that setting a patient's status as inactive or deceased in the Patient Detail tab will also exclude them from a mailing. As I mentioned earlier, Cash Sales Only will make the patient appear red on the patient browser. Lastly, let's take a look at the patient summary screen. Here you can see all of the relevant information on the patient's file. From this one screen, you will see the patient's name, date of birth, and age. If using reference numbers, these will show up next to the age. You will see the main contact home phone number and work phone number along with an alternate contact name and relationship to the patient, only if the alternate contact is set as the primary contact. You will see the name of the provider and the location this patient is assigned to. If the patient has an open balance, you can view that here in red. You can view punctuality statistics based on an average time the patient is early or late to their appointment. This will show up in green if the patient is normally early, and in red if the patient normally arrives late. This is the no-show rate. In parentheses is the number of appointments marked no-show out of a total number of scheduled appointments. The patient's physical address will appear here with their email address. Any upcoming recall for the patients will show next to that. Below is where you can see a patient note, if there is one on file. Insurers will show up in green. Any patient group the patient is part of will show up in blue. The referral source and type will be in yellow. The patient type will show in red if there's one entered in the audiology tab. The next upcoming appointment for the patient will show with an up arrow. The last appointment the patient had will show with a down arrow. The last audiogram date will appear here as well. If the assessment was more than over a year ago, it will show in red, so you'll know to contact the patient for a new hearing test. You will see the severity, type, and shape of hearing loss. If you hover over this information, you will see the audiogram graph format complete with air and bone conduction. Any hearing aids on file will appear below. You will see the manufacturer, model, and serial number under the model column. Next, any battery, colors, and notes entered will show. The age of the hearing aid and the purchase date will show as well. If the hearing aid is over 4 years old, it will appear in green, so you know to talk to that patient about upgrading their technology. Warranty dates appearing in red are expired. Any ALDs or accessories on file will appear at the bottom of this screen. It will include the serial number, purchase date, and warranty expiration date. You can also print out this summary information by clicking Print at the bottom of the screen. We hope you found this Blueprint Basic tutorial recording helpful. If you have any questions, please give us a call.